Okay, so have you made use of any design patterns in your project? To be more specific, any creational design patterns or something like that?
Yeah, so creational design patterns we have used like factory design pattern, then singleton design pattern, and mostly we use a builder design pattern as well. So yeah, so these are the design patterns I have used.
Okay, so mostly you have used builder design pattern.
Yeah, uh, yes.
Okay, so when do we go for builder design pattern? Can you tell me the scenario when I should think of, okay, now this is the time when I have to use builder design pattern?
Yeah, builder design pattern we can use when objects have lots of attributes.
Mm-hmm.
So like let's say we have a car object and it it can have many properties, right? It can have like engines, it can have wheels, color, and all that, right? So when various properties are there, so we can use to set all those properties uh, using this builder design pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So basically the builder design pattern is used to construct like kind of a complex object step by step, and it allows for the creation of complex object without having to directly call their constructors. So like each properties we can set and without any order, so order is also not necessary here. So we can set, for example, wheels first and then color and then engine, or if the requirement is like something different, then we can set only engine or wheels or like that. So the properties are not all properties are not mandatory to be set, and order is also not required to be.
Okay, can you please share your screen?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, now can you please provide an implementation of the builder design pattern based on any real time project you have worked on?
So we had used for one report object. So
Mm-hmm.
let me create a report class. So first of all, we can write here like private properties.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then we will have the private constructor. So private constructor with parameter as builder object. Then we will have the uh, we can have the another class,
Mm-hmm.
maybe uh, the builder class for this. So something like public static class report builder. Okay, and here again we will have the private properties, and then we will have the uh, chaining system and along with the setters. So for that we will have setters with with return type as maybe report builder only, and then we can just have uh, the build method which will ultimately return the complete object.
Mm-hmm.
Build method with return object, Then we will have the main main method, so which we can write it separately. So let me complete it one by one. So let me write the few of the properties of it. Private string, it can be title, then private string, author, string, content. Now we will have the private constructor. So let me write the constructor. Okay, but this will not be the usual constructor, so it will be the object of report builder actually. So builder, there is no use of this. Okay, and this constructor will not be the public, this will be the private, because we don't want directly to be accessible this one. So we are not going to update the object of report directly. So it's kind of immutability we are trying to achieve. So it
Mm-hmm.
will be like this, and then we can, similar to here, we will have the properties here. Okay, and now we will have only setters here, so there will not be any getters. Source. Okay. Okay, sorry. So we have to keep only uh, setters, not getters. So let me remove this. Okay, and that too, this will be the builder object, not void. Okay, and also we will have to return this because we are using the chaining system. So because so one more method will come after at the end for the return of the complete object. So in the end we will have the final method, build method. Okay, so return maybe new report, and then this. Okay, so this will be the in the end, which will return the actual final object. And let me prepare all the properties. Okay, so instead of keeping this class outside, let me have it inside the inner class of report only. So let me cut this and paste it here. Okay, now we can create a main class. Okay, and here we can create the object of report dot, we will get report builder dot set author turn dot set. So here the sequence doesn't matter, in any sequence we can set it. So set content dot set title. Okay, and then we can say dot build, because that is the one which will return the final object. And let me receive it to the object. Okay, okay, we will have to write, I think, two string, but let me try to run this. Okay, so this is actually printing the object. Okay, so instead of so we don't have getter also, right? So we can write two string method, we can override basically into report class. So here we can override two string.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and okay, so now we are able to see this. Okay, so this is how we can create the builder design pattern.
Okay, okay, good. Now you have here set title, right?
Yeah,
Can you remove that? Only set title?
yeah,
No, along with the property. The complete set title property, can you remove that?
yeah.
Okay, save and run it.
Yeah,
So now your title is coming as null, right?
yeah, yes.
Okay. Now suppose the requirement is like the title cannot be null. Okay, it should have some value irrespective of what other properties you are setting. Okay, so that is kind of a mandatory field. So how do you handle that?
This we want to be mandatory. Then we will have the null check. Maybe we will have the null check mm, whenever we are going to build it. So at that time we can do the null check.
Okay, can you update the code according to that?
Yeah. Uh, so here we can just check if so title, right? So if title title equal to null, in that case we can throw some exception or something to ask the user so that user can mandatorily add that. So throw new illegal illegal argument exception we can use. Okay, and we can say total is mandatory. Yeah, I think this will do. So yeah, so whenever user will not put the title, we will get this exception. So yeah.
Okay, can we use this builder design pattern in multi-threaded environment?
The builder design pattern itself is not thread safe. So if multiple threads need to build objects like kind of simultaneously, so thread safety mechanism like synchronization and all that should be actually implemented. So apart from that, we can also use separate builder instances for each thread. But yeah, so that is how we can do it.
Okay, can you copy the code from the chat and add it at line number 15?
Yeah. Yeah.
So can you tell me the output of it?
Uh, so we have X. Yeah, its output will be X first because the main is running and X, and then this will throw some error, but we also have finally, so X will be there, then W will be printed. So X and W will be there because this is in the finally block. So that anyway executes always. So I mean, it just does not execute when the uh, system closes abruptly or some system dot error is there or system dot exit is there, but it is not that scenario. So we will have X and W. Yeah.
Okay, now instead of we have line number 31, right? Throw new error. Instead of that, suppose it is throw new exception, okay, and some string is there. So what will be the output?
Okay. So this one we want throw new exception.
Yes.
Okay. So uh, in this case, in this case, I think X will be printed anyway, and this is not throwing error but exception. So Z will come, then W will come. Yeah, so the sequence is X, Z, and W. Yeah, because we have the catch block, right? So the exception will go to this catch block, and whatever inside this catch block that will also run, and then anyway finally runs, so that finally block will run. So yeah,
Okay, so what is immutability in Java?
immutability means that once an object is created, then its state cannot be changed. So it's kind of a read-only behavior for objects, we can say. So for example, string class is there in Java, so that is immutable. So once a string object is created, we cannot modify its value. If we try to change it, a new string object is created instead of changing that.
Okay, so how we shall create our own custom immutable class?
We can create custom immutable class. We need to follow some steps, like we can make the class as final, so it prevents it being subclassed. So uh, that is one, and then we can declare all fields as private and final, and then we can provide a constructor to initialize the fields, and then we can remove the setters. So setters we don't give while doing that, and we can give only getters. So yeah, so these are the steps we need to follow to make a custom immutable class.
Okay, so in this immutable class, what if we have the object? Anything we need to take care of?
When we have object, uh,
So any idea about the shallow copy or deep copy?
so a shallow copy creates a new object, but it does not create new copies of the object referred to by the field of the original object. So instead, it copies the reference to those objects. So the new object and the original object share the same references. So this means that if the original object's reference to objects are modified, those changes are reflected in the silo copy as well. This can break immutability if the fields in the original object are mutable. So we have to do the deep copy. So deep copy basically creates a new object along with new copies of all the objects and the original object references. So like that ensures that the new object is completely independent of original object, and any changes made to the reference object in the like original or copied object that won't affect each other. So yeah, when we are performing immutability, so to prevent the any kind of issue, so we I mean do this deep copy thing. So using this we can prevent any kind of issue in the immutability.
Okay, so what is string joiner?
Yeah, so string joiner is a class. So it
Hmm.
was introduced in Java 8. So that is designed to help us like efficiently and easily join multiple strings or other elements into single string, and it accepts like a delimiter, prefix, and suffix. So all these three we can give, and it can prepare the string according to that. So before Java 8, we needed to join multiple strings using uh, delimiter, using string builder or string buffer. While these two are, we can say, kind of good general string concatenation, but there wasn't any direct support for handling delimiters or adding prefix and suffix automatically. So we always had to like concatenate. Suppose we have to uh, add the delimiter as a comma or hash or something. So we have to manually keep on adding comma, hash, and then we have to keep the next string, and again we have to keep the comma and so on. But this is not the case in case of string joiner. So it is kind of very much handy or clean code, we can say. So yeah, so this often that often lead to writing complex or error prone codes in case of older way of writing string buffer and builder, but that is not the case here. So yeah, so this is what is a string joiner. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So can we define both static method and instance default methods in a functional interface?
Yeah, we can define both a static method and instance method in a functional interface in Java. And basically, it is quite common, but there are some important distinctions between them to note. So, first of all, the functional interface is means like the only mandatory thing is that it should have one abstract method, but other methods like default or static, those are kind of optional. That may have, may not have. Still, if it has only abstract method, then it qualifies for the functional interface. Now, static methods can be defined in any interface, including functional interfaces. So, a static method in an interface is associated with the interface itself and not with any instance of a class implementing the interface. So we can directly call it using the interface name. So like we can give interface dot that method. So that we can do. And default methods also uh, in the interface uh, that provide the so default method also provide the default implementation that can be inherited by the implementing classes. So in the functional interface we can define default methods. The key difference between abstract method and default method is that the latter provides the default implementation, whereas the abstract method does not. So default method will have some already default implementation, so that can be further overridden by the implementing classes. So yeah, so this is how we can do it.
Okay, okay. Okay, so you know Hibernate, right?
Yeah, I know that.
So what is Hibernate?
Yeah, Hibernate is an ORM tool, so object relation mapping. So we can say like kind of it provides the bridge between the uh, object oriented the model objects and the relational databases, right? So whenever we are working with the objects in Java, so like whatever we have the data from the databases that need to be mapped with those objects. So for that, Hibernate kind of tool comes into picture where it helps in doing that. So Hibernate basically works by mapping Java objects to databases tables and like vice versa as well. So it uses annotations or kind of configurations to define the mappings. So we can write the entity classes and there like various kind of mappings also we can do like one to one, one to many, many to many, or one to one. So all these kinds of mappings we can do, and accordingly objects we can get, and further we can use. So yeah.
So what is Session Factory in Hibernate?
Yeah, session factory is a factory class in Hibernate that is used to create the session object. So a session factory is, we can say, created in the application and servers as a single point of access for the database operations. So yeah, so we just use that to create the session objects. Yeah.
So, what is the difference between save and persist?
Yes, save and persist both are used to save the object in database, but save is like, this is the part of session interface. So it immediately assigns a generated identifier to the object and returns the generated identifier. The persist is the part of entity manager basically, and it allows the JPA specification. So it does not immediately return the identifier and does not allow for immediate flush of the object. So if we immediately we want the identifier of the object, so we can use save. But if want to um, we want to generate the identifier once the transaction is committed, then we can use persist. So yeah.
Okay, what are the various states of object in Hibernate?
Yeah, we have transient, then persistent, then detached, and then removed state.
And what is the difference between eager and lazy loading?
Yeah, eager loading means we use one annotation or like uh, fetch type eager, and then we have fetch type dot lazy. So that is for the lazy loading. So suppose we have any class and that has any object. So eager, whenever we say fetch type eager, so as soon as that class is loaded, so at the same time that corresponding objects is also loaded into memory. So in case of lazy, as soon as we don't do the get of that object, so it will not be loaded. So that is the main difference between these two.
Okay, can you quickly write one code snippet for that?
A code snippet for eager.
Yes, you can just write one entity class and you can show me like okay how you use eager and lazy loading.
Okay. Uh, so let's say we have a any public class, any author. So first of all, whenever we write Hibernate entities, so we write at the rate of entity annotation on top of that class, and then we will have, like, let's say we have ID, and we annotate with ID for ID, and then let's say we have any object. So let's say we have list of books. Okay, so private list of books. So we will have any book object. Okay, so um, this also may be any one to many, and here it will be like we mention if it is fetch type I mean lazy or eager, fetch type dot So I don't remember the exact syntax, but yeah, something like that we do. And yeah, so now whenever we create the object of this author, and we will have the getters here, setters and getters. So whenever we will have this author dot get books, so uh, at that time, I mean, whenever we are going to do that author that get books, then only this book object will be loaded. But if suppose we are not using that get books, in that case this books object will be I mean not be hit. So internally Hibernate makes another call whenever we are making it that get books. So yeah,
Okay,
so
okay, that's fine.
this will be it will be a small, so yeah.
Okay, you know transient annotation in Hibernate?
Yeah, so transient annotation is used to indicate that a particular field should not be persisted in the database. So that is when the transient keyword is used. So Hibernate will ignore this field while mapping the object to the table. So it's useful when we do have a field in our Java object, and that is needed for the computation of a kind of, we can say, for the temporary use, but we don't want to save that actually into the database. So in that case we can apply transient on top of that property. We can say like that specific property will not be mapped to the Java objects and ultimately will not be saved to the database. Yeah.
Okay, so coming to Spring Boot, can you tell me what is the purpose of at the rate of Spring Boot application?
Yeah, so the Spring Boot application annotation in Spring Boot is a uh, annotation that underlying to that there are three more annotations, which is at the rate of configuration, at the rate of enable auto configuration, and at the rate of component scan. Okay, so add configuration is like this is the core annotation, so that marks the class as a source of the bean definition. So in Spring, any class annotated with at configuration is treated as a configuration class where we can define beans to be managed by the Spring container. So, uh, in Spring Boot, we are often dealing with the concept of creating beans for services, repositories, etc. Right? So that is the purpose of at the rate of configuration. At the rate of enable configuration is like that tells Spring Boot to automatically configure the application based on the libraries in the class path. Okay, so for example, if we have suppose any h2 database in the class path, so Spring Boot will automatically set up an in-memory database. Okay, so it tries to configure the application like kind of, we can say, automatically by analyzing the dependencies we have and setting up the default configurations for us. So that is what is at the rate of enable auto configuration. Then at the rate of component scan annotation, so that makes Spring Boot automatically scan the current package. Okay, so we can also scan the other packages. Okay, so for that we will have to specifically mention that package, but at component scan, like within the current package, it will automatically scan what wherever the component services or beans are there. So those things will be detected by the Spring Boot. Okay, so we can say like it helps Spring to find the classes that are annotated with add component, add service, add repository, etc., and register them to the application context. Okay, So yeah, so this is the purpose of this at the rate of Spring Boot application.
Okay, so in Spring Boot, what is at the rate of value annotation?
At the rate of value,
Yes.
add value annotation is used to inject values into Spring Beans, and so kind of whenever suppose we have application.properties or YAML file, and we, there if suppose we have defined some properties and we want them to be injected in the application, okay, in the or in the class we can say. So in that case we use add data value. It is really useful, like it decouples the configuration from the application code and make it more flexible and easier to manage. So because uh, properties file we can change later on, we don't have to like uh, so that is kind of externalized file, right? So it, so that is why it is it decouples it, and we can easily use and we can change the values whenever we want as per our convenience. Yeah, so I mean we can just say add that of value, and with a dollar actually I mean in the brackets we can fetch the value whatever in the properties file we have. So yeah, so that is the use of add that of value.
Okay, what is at the rate of profile annotation?
Add profile annotation is used for the profilers. So this annotation in Spring Boot is used to define the active profiles in which the particular bean or configuration should be active. So we can have multiple profiles like development, testing, or production. So these are the different environments are there. So them only we say like different profiles. So there will be some properties with respect to development, some properties with respect to QA, some properties with respect to production. So suppose we want to change them as per whatever environment we are running in that application. So we activate that specific profile, and we can use this add data profile annotation there. Okay, so this annotation typically used with Spring Beans, such as classes annotated with add rate of component, service, repository, or configuration. So we can assign profiles to beans, and Spring Boot will only create or inject those beans when the specified profiles is active. Okay, so we can give add that a profile, and in the bracket we can give like dev. Okay, and that configuration, whatever the configuration is there, so that configuration will be active only when the current profile is dev. So again this profile value we can give into the application properties or YAML file. Okay, so there we can spring dot profiles dot active, that we have key, so that we can give there, and we can give dev. So like whenever dev environment will be there, that corresponding configuration will be active. So yeah, so that is the what is the profiles.
So how can you create custom exception handler in Spring Boot?
For that we use at the rate of controller advice and at the rate of exception handler. So that makes it easy to define custom exception handling logic globally across the application. So we handle it globally. So global exception handling can be done. Okay. So to create the custom exception handler, the idea is to centralize the logic. Okay. For handling different types of exceptions in one place, so that we don't have to handle them separately in each controller. Okay, so this can be particularly helpful in large applications where consistency in error response is needed. Okay, so for that we can create the custom exception. So we will have like at date of controller advice on the top of a class we can write, and then we can, under the method on top of that, we can write at the rate of exception handler. Okay, and there whatever the like exception will be there, that we can mention in that method, so that way we can do it. Yeah.